Stress and autoimmune. Okay, so high cortisol is actually anti-inflammatory. This is one of the crazy things about understanding of stress, because when we are often in a period of stress, I absolutely experience this, is that often we can see autoimmune symptoms reduce because of that cortisol response. So the steroids that we were talking about as medications earlier are based on this cortisol hormone that is produced that is anti-inflammatory. And what can happen is that an autoimmune condition can flare after a period of stress. And this can be when the cortisol drops off. And then we get that low cortisol response. And this can be really useful when talking to someone who is managing an autoimmune condition, because if they are going to go through a period of stress, then it is worth looking at how you build scaffolding around the body to ensure that there is a period of rest afterwards, that they're not going through repeated stress for weeks on end, because then
I was going to say,
the flare afterwards is horrendous.
That's what I was going to say as well, is that the high cortisol for a short period of time might be one thing, but actually when we start being in it as a habitual issue, then it starts to produce other problems like the sympathetic nervous system response. And when we end up with just being sympathetic dominant all the time, then the body is in a whole different process. And so that's when we start seeing that the autoimmune's flaring up. The body just starts to become resistant to what the cortisol is supposed to do. The body becomes resistant to any hormones that are there in excess. It becomes resistant to insulin in excess. It becomes estrogen in excess, cortisol in excess. It just stops working.
It's also interesting to see if your client has lower symptoms in the morning, because that is when cortisol is naturally higher. So it can be that cortisol that is causing that anti-inflammatory effect, which is calming the symptoms down, and symptoms gets worse as cortisol drops off through the day. It is also worth noting that if there is an underlying infection in the body that the body can't clear, the immune system will choose to lower cortisol and prioritize fighting the infection. So then we've got low cortisol and high inflammation. That is often a piece that happens in autoimmune. We talk about this a lot from the perspective of the immune system. This is the connection with the thymus, which is considered part of the endocrine system because it does produce hormones, but it is responsible for producing T cells. That's where the letter T comes from, is from thymus. So it plays a huge role in the immune system. And so when you have an endocrine system that is stressed, say the adrenal glands are going down, then it can take the rest of the system with it. You can start getting sugar cravings in the pancreas, you're getting colds, infections, autoimmune in the thymus, you're getting weight gain or weight loss in the thyroid, or cold hands and feet. You're not able to sleep with the pineal gland, your periods go off with the ovaries. So we talk about this a lot, of how the glands all work together, and how the thymus is the one that we're looking at from an autoimmune perspective. But it's often the thymus that's struggling because of the rest of the endocrine. And this is where we come back to the triangle of hormonal health, which is the pancreas for blood sugars, adrenals for stress, and ovaries for sex organs, for sex hormones. That is flooring this thymus. And this is the HPA axis, which again we bang on about a lot. This is when there is this continued stress that is hitting the body, that this communication that happens between the hypothalamus, the pituitary, and the adrenals breaks down. And what we need to be doing as practitioners is to be able to support the HPA axis. We look at all the things that we do. It's a nutritional density, it is supplements, it is reducing stress, it's lifestyle, it's the coaching, it's making sure that there's no food intolerances. All of this will support this to be able to come back online again.